a relationship in this capacity.
Good, good. Yeah, I mean, over the years, I can't tell you how many people I've, helped because of my kids' sports and different things,
Right.
you get to know them well, and you can't be a secret agent. You gotta let them know what you do, right?
Right, so like my son just made a travel baseball team.
Good.
And so what Marjorie, who is on the Olsen team, she was talking about how her husband makes put stickers like with her name and information, and she'll be like, oh, I have some water from an open house, like here, we'll use it. And then it's like,
Yeah.
everybody has it now, you know?
Question for you, do you go to a lot of games?
Yeah, yeah.
Do they have a team manager?
I'm the team.
Okay, good. I was the team manager.
I-
for your team.
Yeah, so I just became, because it just is starting up, so he just did tryouts and he just got it, so then they were asking for a team manager and I volunteered to be team
Okay.
manager. I'm also a Girl Scout troop leader for 2 different troops.
Good
And
Lord.
I'm on the PTO. Yeah, I'm the PTO president, so.
I'm sure you're bad.
I know.
And then like bring the coat, doesn't know.
Oh, you should do that.
Yeah, no, I see that. I see that.
Mhm.
I do have a name tag that I should probably just start wearing.
Yeah, but even,
Here to wear around to events,
Okay,
yeah,
that's fair.
do a jacket.
but get a coat or a vest or a hat or something.
Yeah.
They do have, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You can be a walking
Excellent.
billboard for yourself, a subtle billboard.
I'm gonna have my face on it.
You got 2 sons, just like.
Oh, boy.
That's funny.
All right, you guys, well, what we're gonna cover today is, we're gonna try to identify qualified A sellers. Follow that up with trying to get an appointment. And then we're gonna apply approaches to request an appointment from an A seller. And then, we're gonna talk about pre-listing criteria. So pre-listing packet, I'll go over a little bit more in detail. And then we're also gonna learn how to demonstrate, expertise in handling, buyers' objections to win the business. Oh, that's a typo. They should have been seller. So anyway, moving on. Uh-oh. There we go. So, hi, how are you? Good, thank you. So Denise, you want to help me read this?
While leads are vital to your sales business, seller listings are critical to your ability to build it to its highest level with the lowest cost and highest net.
Yep. So if you guys probably haven't figured out already, working with buyers is very, very time consuming. You spend a lot of money on gas, and so listings are definitely where you're going to have the lowest cost and the highest net. So that's why they're always saying get listings, listings, listings. I mean, buyers are great, and we certainly can, do well working with them, but you want to try to have listings be the greater percentage of business that you do. So anyway, so I want to talk about what an A seller is. Oh, this thing is slow. There we go. So an A qualified seller is someone that's ready, willing, and able to do business. They say here in the next 14 days, I'd even say in the next 30 days, because it does take some preparation to get them ready to be on the market, certainly doing your listing presentation. So, I would say anyone that's ready in the next 30 days, I would count as a qualified seller. It also means that they're financially able to complete the transaction, and then, that they're ready to act now. And then too, our goal when we talk to a seller, a potential seller, is to obviously get an appointment. So I wanted to share with you guys, I have a bunch of material that I brought printed, and if you guys want copies of any of it, I'm happy to email anything to you. I just wanted to bring physical copies as well. But there's 3 things in this business when working with seller that are your best friend. The first thing is a seller qualification guide, and they call it a lead sheet, which is, it's the same thing. The next thing is your listing, pre-listing packet that you send out to them once you do obtain the appointment and you want to confirm the appointment. This pre-sells you. So I'll go over this in more detail too. And then lastly, when you do the listing presentation, you need to have your presentation. I actually have mine in a nice 3-ring binder that I go through, but I always make an extra copy to leave with them so that they can look at it even after I've been there. And then the other thing that I bring besides the copy of my listing presentation is the packet of all the paperwork. We have been really trying to get them to e-sign it, but at least then we can go through it with them while we're there. Otherwise, I know a lot of people, to save time, we've been reviewing the documents over the phone and having them e-sign as well. But in this, we'll have all the listing contract paperwork here that we can go through, all the seller disclosures that you might need. So in every packet, I bring the seller disclosure, the regular one, the disclosure alternatives, the sewer disclosure, the well disclosure, and the location map. Now, I don't know about you guys, but we find that we do mostly city listings, so they don't have well and septic, but you always want to make sure that you're bringing them to be prepared, because you just never know. They may even have like a city property where they still have a capped well. Well, they still have to do a well disclosure in the well location map. So it's great to, you know, bring those with, so you're always prepared. And then the other thing that we have is a homework packet that the seller needs to fill out. And that, I'll explain a little bit more in detail too. I guess we can do it now. We have them kind of fill out what updates have you done to the house? What do you love about the neighborhood? What's close by for shopping? Let's see, what else? Schools, parks, you know, all of that. So you can get a lot of your marketing material directly from the seller up front, which is great. So anyway, so I'll kind of keep touching on these throughout the class, but if you want any copies of anything, I'm happy to share with you what we use. So let's see, the next one. It takes a bit till it switches.
This is the first time it's ever done.
Really?
Yeah, that's not normal.
Of course, it would be my day.
Where's Drew? Drew.
Is it Friday the 13th?
No,
Just kidding.
Not this week.
So I guess I have to hit it twice. Okay. So, so the next we're on page 15.3 in your workbook, in case you guys are following along. We're going to talk about the 3 L's from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Have any of you read that book? Okay, it's a great book. I'd highly recommend it.
On the bookshelf, I just haven't gotten it.
Okay. Oh, I'm Colleen, by the way.
Andrea.
Nice to meet you.
Sorry, I was a little late.
No, you're good. You're good. So obviously the first and most important is leads. And, you know, the basis of a great real estate business is leads, listings, and leverage. But obviously you won't get any of that without leads. And you've always got to have a bunch kind of in your pipeline to be able to generate the business and, you know, have enough, enough people to contact to eventually get an appointment. And then like we kind of talked about in the beginning, I mean, we love listings because they not only bring us commission, but they bring us the ability to build relationships with our clients to get repeat and referral business. So they're very important. Let's see here. I just want to see let's see. So I guess that's the thing I want to really focus on is leads. Really, there's nothing more important for in this business than having buyer and seller leads. And you have to have a lot, obviously we've talked about, or you wouldn't be in business. And then with listings, it just, you know, want you to know that while leads are vital, seller listings are critical to your ability to build your business to the highest level. And like that first slide mentioned, with the lowest cost and the highest net to you, because buyers take up so much time. Hello, Stephanie. And then leverage. Eventually, when you get to a point where you have so much business and you can't do it yourself, which would be a great thing to be, then you want to leverage and, you know, hire somebody to help you and use all of the tools that Keller Williams offers to you. And then I just cannot speak to how important systems are. I did this business for way too many years, flying by the seat of my pants. And the minute I got systematized, it really helped just everything move along faster. I didn't let anything fall through the cracks anymore. And it just gave you lots of reasons to always communicate with your clients and be in constant touch with them throughout the process. So, all right, let's move on to the next. Does anyone have any questions so far? No? Okay, So here are, this is on page 15.4 in your book, virtue of seller listings. So it just, seller listings mean marketing opportunities for you. So obviously you can put a yard sign, you know, in the yard and get some visibility that way. You can do them just listed, just sold cards, social media, you know, obviously you can, you know, not only while you're marketing the property, you're able to then let your, you know, brand be known to people out there as well to try to get more leads. You obviously have more control of your time because as you guys know with buyers, I mean, they'll call you and say, hey, I want to go take a look at this house and can we do it in 2 hours? So it just kind of messes up your whole schedule where, you know, really when you're working with a seller, everything is very appointment driven and it's not real fly by the seat of your pants. So it's certainly allows you to have more control over your schedule. And then too, I just feel like it maximizes your per hour compensation. Given how long I've been doing this, you guys, I would say I've never, ever calculated my costs or like what I've made per hour, because I don't think I would ever want to. It might be depressing, but I feel like, again, sellers really maximize your hourly wage if you ever figured it.
Oh, I just wanted to know.
Yeah. Oh, 32 years. Yes, a long time. So. And it was interesting too. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm sure in another class, the thing that was really hard for me to learn early on was protecting my time as well. Like, I mean, there's it certainly in this market, it's crazy because you've got to get out to show a listing or, you know, a buyer a house right away so that they don't miss it. But it's just very critical to, you know, protect your time. So like when you're doing an appointment or trying to schedule an appointment, try to give them several different options that fit in your schedule so that they don't feel like you're trying to do it around your time, but at least, you know, you're giving them options. But it's just so important to protect your time. Getting back to the virtue of seller listings, the other thing too is, of course, you can do so much more volume with listings than you can with buyers, just because they're so much more time consuming. The other thing that I think is great about listings is you're on the front end of the pricing. So you're really, by helping them take a look at the market, decide, you know, where they should list their home. You know, it's interesting because when you do listings and you're working in the same area that you're working with buyers, the more listing presentations and CMAs that you're doing, it really helps you get a clear focus on, you know, once you're out with buyers. And like this week, I was like, holy cow, this listing is grossly underpriced. So then my buyers knew we were going to be in multiple offers, but we knew not to even pay attention to the current price because they listed it too low. And of course, it did end up selling for over 50,000 of what it was listed for. But it's just by doing those and being in the business and doing market analysis, it really gets you prepared for when you're working with a buyer as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so in that situation, you said you didn't even pay attention to what it was listed at.
Yep.
Did you just have recommend make the lead offer based on what actually worked?
Well, so we can talk, I've got that coming up too, but we can jump into that. No, it's okay. So when we first get a call for a listing, we always do preliminary numbers, you know, beforehand. I mean, and you know, I like to do it like Jason Gorman does. I'm a big fan of two-step because I'm worried about one step that you go in and you give them a price and all of a sudden you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, they didn't even mention all of these updates. So like Jason said, it's almost like a surgeon trying to, you know, do surgery and they've never even examined you before, you know, so what we do is like, even when I'm working with a buyer, we look at the AVM, which is never accurate, but you got to get an idea. We do the RPR. We do look at Zillow because everybody looks at Zillow. So you have to be prepared for what that number is. And then we use InfoSparks too. So between those 4 programs, I feel like you at least can get a preliminary range. And then obviously if they have done tons of updates, they're going to be at the higher end of that range. If they haven't, they'll be at the lower end. But then once you've been through the house and you've seen all the updates, then obviously you definitely still need to do a full-blown, you know, market analysis. And we do the same thing too, Denise, for buyers. You know, you're doing like a market analysis, but just for the buyer rather than the seller. So, but I just knew it from not only from one that I had just sold in the same area at the price, this house was way, way nicer. And it was listed at the price that my other one just sold for, that I sold to my buyer. So I mean, I was like, holy cow, this is so grossly underpriced. So I just told them, try to not focus on the list price. I'll get you to the range, then you guys just need to figure out where you're gonna be. And then I know we're not talking about buyers, but the other thing I always help buyers, because we were talking about this too, Doug, is that when you're in multiple offers, you don't know what it'll end up selling for. So my big tagline is, you've just gotta go the highest that you're willing to go based on the numbers that I've given you. Where if one person beat you out by $100 and you see that online later on, you aren't like, darn it, I wish I would have done that. You've got to go as high as you're willing to go. And they always kind of look at you like, well, you got to give me a price. I'm like, no, it's up to you. Here's the range. It's up to you to decide what you're comfortable spending. And if you don't get it, then you can know I did put my best foot forward and moving on to the next. So anyway, just my little thing for you. Yeah, sure.
Did you say FBA?
What's that? Oh, AVM. That's,
AVM.
yeah, that's, so like when you're in MLS and you see the tax ID number, you can click on that and it goes to the report that shows you the AVM, which is kind of down toward the bottom. On a break, I can show you where to find that. It's never accurate, but again, it at least gives you an idea and adds to the range that you can tell them. Okay. All right, so let's see, I think and then of course, properly marketed listings also are going to bring you more business. And when, sellers see how much effort you put into the marketing, they're going to just brag to people like, gosh, you should have seen what they did, and our house sold over the weekend and we had multiple offers. And so it definitely helps you. Oh goodness, you guys, it's gonna be painful. All right, this next one is to me, this is so critical to your business and the steps that you have to take. So let's just say, for example, you get a seller that calls you up, right? And they say, Doug, I want to sell my house. We're putting it on the market. So it is so critical that you use a seller qualification guide or a lead sheet and make sure that you ask them every question. So the top is just, their name, their address. Do they have any kids? What are their ages? What are their dogs? Like, you want to get to know them first and then get into kind of all the crooks of the question. But you want to find out, why are they moving? What have they done to update their house to improve it? If they've worked with other agents before, what did they like? What didn't they like? So that you know how to cater your services to them. And then, of course, financial information. Do they have a mortgage? Have they, what's the word during COVID, you guys, Stephanie, do you remember when they deferred payments? Like, you have to find those things out because it will obviously impact their bottom line. What's that? Thank you. Yes, I couldn't think of the word. And then, of course, the last thing is certainly trying to get the appointment. So number one is that the qualification of the seller is so huge. Then once you've scheduled an appointment with them, like I had mentioned, you guys, this pre-listing packet is so critical. And I think you can do this in a couple of different ways. You can and you really have to just find out, what do they like better? Do they want it snail mail? Do they want to email? Should you courier it in person? It's however you want to do it. But this is the packet of information that pre-sells you to the seller. So like they asked in the book, is this something you'd review at the listing presentation? It's not, because it should really be straightforward and should pre-sell you, but you certainly can touch on it. So like ours, for example, has our mission statement. We have all of the testimonials that like some of our recent clients have given us. I shouldn't say all, but a handful of them. And then we kind of have an overview of our marketing plan. Someone needs to mute. Can hear them. And then we have example of like how powerful it is to stage your house and showing before and after photos and just kind of the highlights of that. Then my favorite document, you guys, that I found years ago from SPAR, I think it was, is your seller agent responsibilities to your client. This, by showing them that it's 3 pages long, shows them that they cannot list their house without the help of an agent, and especially without the help of you. Like, this is meant to overwhelm them. So we send that as well. Then just kind of different things about what affects the market value of your home. And then how you can buy if you either own, if you, 3 ways to buy. So contingent on selling your home, not contingent on, because your home is already sold, or non-contingent altogether. It just explains that to them. And then lastly, we ask them what's important in the sale of your home. So we have them do a survey ahead of time, so that again, when we come for the listing appointment, we already know, we can discuss then what's important to them. And then lastly, we include the agency disclosure. Did you have a question, Payment? I'd be happy to. So if you guys want to just, at some point, let me know if you want me to email these to you. The other thing that I've not dove into yet is, it sounds like Command has a lot of examples on pre-listing. My pre-listing, or our pre-listing packet, is really a culmination of going to tons and tons of seminars over the years, and in my opinion, grabbing the best information that I had found over the years. So Commands is probably awesome too, and I should look at it because I might need to implement something. But you want to keep that to like 10 pages. You don't want it to be too overwhelming, but yet you really want it to kind of pre-sell you. Exactly. Yep. Yes, I'd be happy to. I'll send it off to you. You're very welcome. No problem. So then obviously then the next step, once you send out the pre-listing and you're confirming your appointment, is doing the listing consultation. And again, I've shown you, a couple of you, that we have a listing presentation that we review with them. And then we bring the whole listing packet where we've got the contracts, the homeworks that they have to fill out, disclosure. And then offer and negotiations. Doug and I were talking a little bit about this. One of the things that I also would be happy to send you guys is our multiple offers spreadsheet. We're back into multiple offers again. And so really the best way to, help your seller with offers and figuring out the best one to take and helping them through the negotiation is by doing a multiple offers spreadsheet. Stephanie, do you guys do one too? When you guys get multiple offers, or how do you guys?
Command.
Oh.
So we put them in and compare that one.
Perfect.
Like how friends that we have one complete.
Oh.
Well, and then we do take the net sheet that we have in the office.
Yep.
And we update each one with each offer.
Okay,
That way
perfect.
they can see their net with each individual one.
It's great.
And then Amy, like, depending who they are, she'll print every single offer too.
Wow.
So then we could be like, these are the offers that we received.
Okay.
And a little bit of show.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, she doesn't do both of those. We'll email them over to her, to the client, and then we'll do it all.
Okay, so do you email the offers too, or do you print them all?
Print them, maybe because they don't really know to look it over
Mhm.
and stuff, but we do email over from Command the comparison, and then we also email
The net sheets? Okay,
And usually it's just like the net sheet, so just be able to look at.
okay. And I think you guys really just have to gauge the type of seller that you have. I mean, obviously, if they're an engineer, they're probably gonna love that you print out every single purchase agreement that you got. Or there might be someone that says, no, you know what, just email me the highlights of every offer. Let's discuss, which one's best for me, and, we can go from there. So you really just kind of have to feel out your client. And then the contract to close, I think I told you guys that the big changer for me in my business was systematizing. So I have checklists for checklists. So they really help you get from the accepted offer to closing in as smooth a way as possible. So again, I have those that I'd be happy to share with you guys. We have, when we get a new listing, we have a new listing checklist. When we get a purchase agreement, we have a purchase agreement checklist. And then once we do a closing, there's actually a closing procedures checklist, because there's a lot you got to do even after closing that you'd forget about. So I'd be, okay, sounds good. And then that's where I talked about the post-close system, is that's just as important too. So, all right, let's see here. I just want to make sure I touched on everything for you guys. Oh, The other thing too, in our listing, when we go on the listing appointment and we cover our listing presentation, I also have examples of the type of marketing material that we do for our sellers. So we have like an example of our, the brochure that we do, the professional brochure. We always do a feature and update sheet with every property that we have. I used to do years, but now I just, I used to sort it by years, but now if they have a, an update, like where I'm explaining features, I'll usually just stick a year after that. But I mean, we usually have 3 pages of features and updates. And then of course we include the floor plan. And then we do it utility information up front too, you guys, because it's so beneficial because buyers always ask us, I wonder what the utilities are, and you can't call Excel Energy anymore and get that information. So having your seller provide that information up front for what their average has been is so critical. So we put that in, you know, a sheet, and that's an MLS supplement. And the other thing that we started doing several years ago, and I can't remember who talked about it during Ignite, but I heard them talking about it, was we do an all about. So like, here's our all about for Woodbury. So it just talks about bars and restaurants, golf courses, parks, shopping, you know, sports and fitness. Yes, thank you. Yes. When he talked about it, I was like, hey, that's what we use. So we do that for all of our listings as well. So like right now in Google Drive, I mean, we have it for probably 30 cities because it does take a while, but once you do it, then you're kind of good to go. Like bars and restaurants come and go, but the idea is just giving them as much information as you can, you know, about the area. So anyway, I wanted to make sure I covered that, and I think I've talked about all that. So do you guys have any ahas from what we've talked about so far that you'd like to share?
So with that, do you just leave that at, as you said,
Yeah, so I have a nice bound copy in like a leather binder that I bring, and that's the one that I review, but I do leave this with them also so that they can review it afterwards. But I have to tell you, I mean, doing the seller qualification, the pre-listing, then going through this, walking through the home with them, you know, giving them a few tips here and there as to what they do to prepare it. If you do all of those things and you do it every single time, more than likely they're going to list with you, you know, at that time. But again, by leaving this is a great marketing tool that if they have a neighbor that wants to sell, hey, look, this is what they do, you know, so it doesn't hurt to print it as well. So anything else, any questions that you guys have, or any other ahas that you can think of? No?
I like that you mentioned the whole places that you look for the right transportation.
yeah, I like
Oh, yeah, and you guys, during COVID, we actually did that for every single person on our, in our sphere of influence. So it was a lot of people. I mean, it took us probably a couple of weeks to run all of those numbers. And we were like, you know, hey, check out what your house is worth. Actually, it was in 2021. So it was a year, you know, like full year of COVID pretty much. So going into the beginning of 2021, we just emailed everyone in our sphere their numbers. And I cannot tell you how many calls we got back from that and how many leads we got as a result of doing that. No, it was time consuming, but it was absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. And it got us really, really good at doing markets too. And, you know, doing numbers, because those are just preliminary numbers. So you're not, you know, you're telling them, you're not binding them to that. But, you know, then, you know, a lot of them wanted to have a more detailed market analysis. So then we did that. So, I mean, it got us really in good practice of doing those again. So, and I do have the template of that email that we sent out. So if you guys want a copy of that too, let me know. So I'd be happy to send that to you. Hi, Scott. How's it going? Good. You got her down?
Yeah, I got her.
Good.
Got her to the one to surgery.
Good. I'm glad. All right, so we'll get on to the next slide then, if it will let us. We already talked about ahas. All right, next one's on 15.6 if you're following along in your book. So these are your keys to converting your A seller. Obviously, whenever you get a phone call or a text or an email, respond as quickly as humanly possible, and then try to schedule a time for them to do this, you know, the qualification guide. So a lot of times, you know, they'll call you right in the middle of something, right? So you can say, hey, let me call you right back. I just need to get to my desk so that I can take some notes once we talk. you should carry these qualification guides from buyers or sellers with you at all times, like in your car, have some at your desk, you know, whatever, so that anytime someone calls you, you're not just trying to have a conversation with them off the cuff. You got to try to stick to the questions because it'll help you qualify them way better. So of course you want to get complete and valid contact information and then save it to command and then create it as an opportunity. And then always try to determine their motivation to sell, figure out if they're, you know, an A buyer or a seller or a B seller. And then set the appointment as soon as you can and never forget that pre-listing packet. You know, and we had kind of talked about there's so many different ways you can deliver it, but you know, if you have kind of a higher end client too, having that pre-listing packet delivered, you know, bound color, I mean, it makes a statement. So you can do something, you know, extra things that people, you know, go out of the box, do something different. All right, next is. This is a chart that kind of shows what sellers want most from their agent. This is on 15/6. So one is, you know, one of the most important is pricing the home competitively. So that's where, again, Denise, those 4 numbers, those 4 programs that I had shown you guys, doing those before the listing appointment is absolutely critical so that you have some idea of a range. And then once you've gone to the listing appointment, then do the full-blown detailed CMA, because now you've seen it, right? And you know the updates they've done and you know the condition that it's in. And that will help you really narrow in on, okay, you've got like a $25,000 to $50,000 range, you can definitely tell much easier what you've been there. And then they want you to help them sell their home within a particular, or I'm sorry, market their home to potential buyers. So again, that was where I talked about all those MLS supplements. Like you guys, the more information that you can give in MLS, you can pre-sell your listing before it even hits the market too. And like we also do photo descriptions, very detailed photo descriptions of every photo. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but we do professional photos. And when we do the photos, like Stephanie, I'd be curious to know how you do it. Like, I'm just so anal that what I do is I visualize walking through the front door. How am I walking through the house? And then I put the pictures in order of how you'd walk through the house. Like, I don't understand where an agent has 3 pictures of the kitchen, then they're showing the bedroom, then the family room, then they come back to the kitchen again. I'm like, what? It's just-
Well, I think it's because like 72 sold said that your best photos are supposed to be in front, and then you're not supposed to have anything.
Yeah,
And it entices people, they're like, oh, I like that, I like that, I like that, and then they want to shop.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
they're like the best ones, whereas like, I'm just like you, I'm just like, and then they go here, and then you see this, and then you see this extra one. But they like say that you're supposed to take those ones out because if it doesn't like add value or make entice them to go see it. you're
Yeah.
supposed to leave that photo out until like week 2, and then you
add more.
start putting them in. But
Okay,
you should be sold by that.
interesting. Yeah.
So,
Well, and you know, we usually get the package where you have 25 photos. I never use all 25 because I'm like, you don't need that many. I mean, just get the best pictures of the house. It shows it in the best possible light. We'll put it in order. Like, don't do the kitchen picture and then master bedroom picture and the jacuzzi tub and then another kitchen picture. It just drives me
Or
crazy.
like 5 of the exact same,
Yes,
but maybe.
just slightly different angle. Yeah, crazy. Makes me crazy.
And it's of like the jacuzzi.
Yes.
Right? Like, okay, we saw the.
Right, right. So anyway, just, you know, pre-marketing is so huge. And then, you know, obviously, when you qualify them, you're going to find out, is the time frame really important to them? Do they want to sell very quickly? Well, then all of these other things really come into play and you've got to do it, you know, to the best of your ability so they can sell quickly. And then the other thing that I think is so critical, whether we're in a seller's market or a buyer's market, is helping a seller know what to do to prepare their home for sale. I can't say it enough. Like, even when, you know, right now it's kind of, we're going back to a little bit of a seller's market again. I still think it's so critical to help them stage it, to do the, you know, professional photos. We spend 2 hours before the professional photographer comes, making sure beds are made perfect, pillows are fluffed. Like, you get one chance to make your first impression. So I can't speak enough to how important the staging piece of it is. And once they list with us and they sign paperwork, we have a 3-page checklist. It's called our listing preparation checklist that helps them go room by room to get their house ready before they sell. So, but we don't give that to them until they sign the listing contract. But another thing too is like when you go to that listing appointment, you know, one of the first things you do is, you know, do you mind if I put my stuff down in the kitchen, you know, and then do you mind if I walk around? And you know, a lot of times it's almost better to do it without them because you don't hear them talking. You can really focus and look at, you know, what improvements have they done, or, oh my gosh, this room is being used as a fitness room, an office, and a bedroom. It has to have one purpose, you know, so you can concentrate on what am I going to tell them. And then, of course, we do give them nuggets after that and say, you know, like, we noticed that one bedroom has 3 different things going on. Let's decide what you want it to be. Does it have to be a home office because you need it for that while we're listing, or can we make it truly a bedroom? So you give them a few little nuggets to, you know, help them understand your knowledge and that you care and that it's all part of, you know, getting the listing to sell quickly. But then once they sign it, then we give them that presentation checklist. Any questions at all? No? Okay. All right. And then, so let's see, I think I've covered everything. All right, to the next slide here, hopefully. Jeez. Okay. So the next one's on page 15.7, in case you're following along. So during the listing presentation and kind of your conversation, you know, one of the biggest things that you want to be doing is building their confidence in you and their trust in you. So you don't want to be too salesy. You just want to be able to provide them with the knowledge that you have in a very, you know, unassuming way, I guess. And then just, you know, our job is to really provide them value, meet their real estate needs, and then to, of course, secure the appointment or secure the listing. So, but they need to experience what it's like to work with you as an agent, someone who's going to be willing to ask questions, to listen to their responses, and then to just show them that you care. So, let's see. Yeah, so it just says, you know, be confident, but try not to overtake the conversation. There's a delicate balance, as you guys know. All right, and then here are the 7 close to appointment tactics. This is on 15.7 in your workbook. Let's see here. We've really talked about a lot of this already. Well, go
We
ahead.
did cover this on the buying side, you know, those
Yeah,
stay intact.
yeah. So you're right. That is similar. That's why I was thinking. I was like, I think you guys have already covered this. So, you know, it's just, you just want to, you know, show them, you guys have talked about value proposition too, right? Wasn't that in another earlier class as well? You know, coming up with your value proposition and really, you know, talking to them about that. You know, letting them know how hard you're going to work for them, that you'll do a great job, and that they will absolutely benefit from working with you versus anybody else. But you just always, oh, the other thing I wanted to mention too is when you're doing that seller qualification guide over the phone, just try not to ever hang up the phone without getting an appointment. You know, that's obviously the end goal of that conversation. So. All right. Let's see, questions versus objections is the next one. So we have to be really careful when we're not only on the phone call with them, but then once we're in person, is to decide, you know, when a question is being asked, making sure that we answer the question and not always hearing their questions as an objection. You know, I'd almost go into when you're talking with someone, not ever assuming that their question is an objection. Like you'll clearly hear when it's an objection, but always just look at it as, okay, they've just, you know, asked me a question. Sometimes repeating the question back to them to give you a second to, you know, come up with your response is helpful as well. But, you know, just always try to treat everything that they ask you as a question rather than an objection. All right, let's see. Oh, and then the other thing too is, interestingly enough, that pre-listing packet that we talked about that you'd send, you know, prior to your listing appointment, that can actually answer a lot of questions for them ahead of time if you get enough, detailed information as to where when you then come up for the listing presentation, they really don't have any objections. I mean, the pre-listing is really, the packet is to pre-sell you, before you even get there. So.
Do you do a follow-up? Like sometimes I've gone to, I said, did you get a chance to go over the packet?
I do. Yep. I
And
asked.
sometimes they'll say, oh, no, we didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I tell them when I am setting up the appointment and when I take the phone call, the first time and set up the appointment, I tell them I'm sending you, a detailed packet of information prior to us meeting. It's really critical that you look at that. And if you have any questions beforehand, let me know. So you have to always like set the stage,
Yeah, I
and
think
just
I
kind of
haven't really done that. So I'm setting my, okay.
Yep. So do that, let them know. And then even in our email, like we say, here's our valuable pre-listing packet information, like this is filled with information that will make our time together at the listing presentation more effective if you have an opportunity to look at it beforehand. So, I mean, we do several different things to where we're trying to get them to realize how important it is that they review that information beforehand. And one of the things, Scott, was before you came is, I have a seller response or our responsibility to the seller during the, this process, and it's 3 pages long. So I want to overwhelm them that they can't do this without me. And number 2, showing them how detailed we are in representing them and what we do from beginning to end. So I can send that to you if you'd like that.
That'd be great.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's see. Oh my gosh, I feel like we're flying through this, but that's okay because they want you to do like 2 hours of work after I teach today, which is crazy. But because there's a lot of different things, I know, so you guys can decide what you want to do. All right. Oh, that was not supposed to come up. Oh, no, it was, sorry. Oh my gosh, because we're going so fast. So do you guys have any other ha-has from what we just kind of covered, or anything that I didn't cover that you guys have questions about?
I like that you said, know the difference between a question and an objection.
Mhm.
Really don't assume it's an objection.
Right. Yeah, I would take that mindset more often than not if you can, just think of it, what they're asking me right now is just merely questions. Because if you take it in your mind as an objection, you're going to answer it differently than you probably would if you thought of it more as just a question and trying to gather information. So I just feel like we're their guides. They have no idea. We get to do this every single day. We do it day in and day out. We're the experts. That's why they hire us. So you want it to sort of feel a bit overwhelming, to make it feel overwhelming to them, but yet let them know that you're going to guide them, through the process. So. All right, move on to the next. Oh my goodness, why is this doing this? All right, so anyway, the next is just having a purposeful approach. So what does it mean when we say moving from E to P? Have you guys covered that? From entrepreneurial to purposeful? Have you guys covered this at all in any other Ignite class? Okay. All right. So what do we mean by that? By when we're trying to break through a ceiling of achievement? Like what, maybe with regard to listings? Oh, you don't? That's okay. Well, entrepreneurial is really what comes naturally to you. So like you can do you're great at all these things, and then all of a sudden you might hit a ceiling because you hit the things that are uncomfortable for you, right? Or things that don't naturally come to you. Well, this kind of comes back to where I talked about how critical systems are and how critical checklists are, because then things that, maybe you don't do every single day, become more natural because you are following a system, you are following the checklist. And so, we have another thing that we have is we call them our next moves. So we send them out. We have 6 for sellers and 6 for buyers. And what we did is we developed that because we realized that people at certain points in the transaction were asking us the same questions. So we're like, let's get ahead of this and say, so this is what's coming up next, and this is what's to expect. And it's eliminated a lot of the sellers calling us, about certain things because we're telling them ahead of time, okay, we've just accomplished this. This is what's coming up now next, and this is what to expect during this part of the process. So I can certainly send that to you guys as well, but
What part of the process are they always?
well, it's different. So like one of the things that, like, for example, with the seller is, okay, now the inspection's done, now what? So we were all, we talked about, okay, if we had to negotiate some things with the buyers, these are your contractors that you need to hire quickly to get those things resolved. And then, now that we've signed the amendment, we know what we're doing. Now the buyer's lender orders the appraisal and they're going to call you, they're going to schedule the appraisal. You need to let them in, things like that. So it just, because we take for granted that people know all the steps that happen because we do this all the time, but they don't. So you really have to treat it as if they've never done this process before and really guide them through it the whole way. Or like, the appraisal's done and we're waiting for final loan commitment. Well, start gathering, the keys from your neighbors or your family, get garage door openers, we send them a move checklist, like just different things. That's the other thing with our move checklist is, or our move next steps, I should say, is we include, like a move checklist on one of them. Where they're at the showing stage, we, again, give them a checklist for preparing the house for showings or preparing the house for open houses. So it just is, again, we keep them constantly informed as to what's coming up and what's happening. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, this is talking again about the pre-listing, but we've already, we've gone through this. I'm getting a little sidetracked. So we've talked about that the pre-listing, the goal is to pre-sell, to save time so that your consultation is smoother, and they've already asked you a lot of questions up front, and it obviously states your value. Holy cow, is that important? That's where that 3-page document about all of our responsibilities, it truly, like, we hardly ever get questioned on our commission because they look at everything that we do and they're like, holy cow, we need you, and we're not going to try to, make you get less than what you should, right? So let's see. Oh, and then you had asked about too, do you review the listing packet? And I don't, but again, because we set the stage, we make sure that they realize the importance of reviewing that.
Now, you might have, I'm sorry, I don't know the question, but
Yeah.
you might have talked about this earlier, but when you go to that first meeting, do you have like a completed CMA, or do you want to see the place first?
Nope. So we did talk about that. So it's
Sorry
okay.
about that.
No, it's all right. We do that. We look at the AVM. So in the tax records, we look at what that value is in the range. We look at the RPR. So that gives you a value and a range. We look at Zillow because everybody looks at Zillow. So that value and range. And then from those 3 numbers, we do the info sparks. Are you guys familiar with info sparks? So we do that as well. So we use those 4 to at least give us the preliminary, value range. And then once you get there, depending on the condition, the number of updates, you then can tell, are they at the bottom of the range or at the top? Yeah, where are they? And then we do a full-blown market analysis once we've been through the property. It's like Jason said, you can't, it's what does he call it? Malpractice. If you try to, give them a price on their house and you've not even walked through their house. It's a little overboard, but that's what he calls it. I love it. So, okay, oops, let's see. So so we're at the right spot. So this is on 1510 in your book. I know it doesn't say a whole lot, but your pre-listing package should obviously look very professional. And Scott, I had a copy of mine. I'd be happy to share it with you, but we were talking about how Command, I'm sure, has a lot of amazing stuff that you guys could then incorporate into your listing packet too. But having your contact information is obviously super important. Your promise to your seller, the overview of the whole process that I talked about, that 3-page, your general pricing information, your value proposition, and client testimonials are so key too. So let's see. Any questions, you guys? Is this being helpful? I feel like I'm not being helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
Step two, I think, is, it's like we've just been inundated with a lot of very similar, we love hearing about like what you personally do, what works for you.
Good. Someone's got to mute.
Mute yourself.
Drew, if you can help us make sure she's muted. All right. Oh,
I think that's one of the things that we get from the instructors, I think, at the end of the day.
okay. Oh, speaking of, now that there's more of you, has that gone around to everybody? If you guys could do me a big well, I can look up your emails. It's not a big deal, but just, what?
That's helpful.
It would, yeah, but if you guys want, I mean, again, I'd be happy to send all of this to you because that's the thing too, early on for me. I mean, I went to seminar after seminar after seminar, but I was like, I need examples. I need someone to show me how to do this step by step. And until I got that or figured that out, you're like, you get all these great ideas, but you don't even know how to implement it, or where do you start, or what do you do?
Or there's maybe somebody who's already done it and they've already started something and you can tweak it to whatever
Yeah.
fits you, but it's hard, you don't know what you don't know.
Right, exactly. And you really do have to customize it to you because, I mean, there's a lot of people that come on very strong and they're very salesy. I am not that way at all. So I want to be just kind of very reserved and, I'm here to teach you. I'm here to inform you and, give you guidance. So it's just however it is, but just to have the examples is so huge. So,
That's true.
and then you have to implement it though. That's the thing. You don't want to spend all this time and money on classes and then not implement what you learn, right? So let's see here. We've really already kind of talked about this next step again, you guys, is the seller consultation. Even just the preparing for this class reminded me of, and I know this was Kevin Sutton talked about this too. You have to be prepared, like
Yeah.
always be prepared. Because if you're not prepared, they can sense it from a mile away. And when you are prepared, again, it's like you pre-sell yourself, every step of the way. If they show that you're organized, you're prepared, what you have is professional. I mean, it kind of speaks for itself. So, another thing too on this, we've kind of talked about, obviously the pre-listing packet we've talked about, and when you send them that, always confirm the appointment date and time. I cannot tell you how important it is to make sure that all the decision makers are at that meeting too. And that's on your pre-qualification guidance, is anyone else going to make this decision with you? Who has to sign the contract with you? Because you guys know it's 1 to buy, but 2 to sell if it's married couple. So, you just always got to make sure that all the decision makers are there. I can't tell you how many times people will be like, well, my husband's traveling for work. Well, then we need to wait till he gets back from work because that what you explain to one, they're not going to be able to explain it the way you explained it to the other person. So you've got to make sure they're all there. And then once you get your listing presentation put together, you've got to practice. I mean, try to role play with someone, a spouse or a child or whatever, or another, a coworker, but you've just got to practice. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And the more, then you can spend time answering their questions rather than going through the presentation and fumbling over it. And then too, that the qualification guide or the lead sheet that you guys got from the phone, always review that before you go to the appointment, because then you can say, your dog is so cute, or you can say, oh, it's so great to meet you, Ashley and Justin. And they're like, oh my gosh, you remember their names. Anything you can do to let them know that you've been paying attention and that you care and is really great. And then you guys, I can't speak enough to either. Just make sure you arrive on time. And when I tell my children what on time means to me is 5 minutes early, it doesn't mean you have to go into the house, but arrive in front of their house 5 minutes early. If you arrive on time, it's late. And if you are anything after what you said, then it's unacceptable. Like I tell my kids, you should always be 5 minutes early. And then too, just make sure you look professional, make sure your car is clean, even though they're not going in it, they see the outside of it. I mean, anything you can do to show them that you're professional and you care about how, you know, you present yourself. You care enough about their time to be on time. All of it matters, hugely matters. Any questions or any ahas? We're to another aha point.
When you talk about preparation,
Mhm.
I remember it went okay, but there was one I was sweating. I was prepared because I found out in our conversation, they were both engineers, which I
Oh,
am not,
yes,
right?
yes, they
That
scare
was-
me.
yeah. That was the toughest. I actually got it, but it was, wow,
Mhm.
that was interesting. I'm glad I had spent a little, generally, most of my sales in my career, I've so far have been for my sphere, which is it's a little different. I shouldn't say that. You want to be, you know, but they know me already, so
Yep.
there's- where this was not that case, and boy, the questions were
Yeah,
crazy,
yeah.
you know.
Yep, my last two buyers have been engineers and I'm telling you, every time I'm done with them, I'm like, oh, you know, it's just, but it's good. It's
Yeah, it's
really
great.
good. And you know, it shows you a different side of this and you have to be prepared to answer questions, not objections, but the questions, you know, they have so many.
So I have a question.
Sure.
What are the kinds of questions that they come to you with that you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I prepared, right? Like,
Well, you know, like an engineer's gonna go, what's the average house, like how many days on market right now? You know, like they want to know stats, like everything. So that's the thing about, you know, even that seller qualification guide, when you're talking to them on the phone, you can even tell over the phone, ask them what they do. Oh, I'm an engineer at 3M. You're like, oh, here we go, you know? So asking them what they do, you can tell a lot of times if they're going to be extra analytical or, you know, ask a lot of questions. So,
They even had questions about the repairs. They're like, if we did this, like, what's, you know. they're
what's,
looking for
how
the-
will increase the
yeah,
value?
what's
Yes.
Return on investment.
Mhm.
You know,
Yep.
there was some things I wasn't ready for.
Yep. And that's okay.
Right.
right, and you
Yeah.
just say that you know,
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Yep, but I'm
Right,
happy
it's
to look
normal.
into it. Yep, yep. I just needed a little bit more time, do a little bit of research. I'll get back to you and I'll let you know, you know. But it's, yeah, the more prepared you are, the better, because someone's always gonna ask you something. You're like, darn, you know, I didn't think of that. But it's okay, because then you know for the next time. So the funny thing too, you guys, about our spread or our checklist, even with the process, is from when I started doing those to today, it's doubled in size, because anytime something happened where I was like, darn it, I didn't know the answer to this, or I forgot about this, or I didn't expect this, we add it because we're like, if it's a possibility, we want to make sure we cover it. You know, we don't want to ever be tripped up again. So make sure your checklists that you have or your systems, they're always being modified. Like every transaction, go, what happened in this transaction that I could have avoided had I had that on my checklist, or had I known that or something. So make sure your systems are always evolving and always getting better. Yes, exactly. Yep. And it's funny because Anne Marie is very tactile, so I had to do our whole Google Drive in a 3-ring binder for her, because she likes to look at it and touch it and feel it. But I was like, oh, these change so often, it's not going to be accurate in like 6 months, but it's okay. Like that's what she needed. It's not going to change that dramatically, but you know, there's certain people, it's just, they want to see it, touch it and feel it. Others are fine if you just email it, you know, so, or you look at it in a Google Drive, so. Anything else, you guys, from that section? No, everyone's doing good. All right. So obviously at the listing appointment, our goal is to get the listing agreement signed. And like I'd mentioned earlier, if you do all of these steps and you're prepared in every step and you're professional in what you provide to them, getting the listing agreement signed at the listing appointment or shortly thereafter over the phone it really will happen, because they're going to trust you and they're going to think that, you know, I have to have that person help me. Can't do this without them. So you just want to build a great impression from start to finish to, you know, build their confidence in you and make sure that you're their agent of choice. Share the price recommendations. We've talked about the initial one and then why you do a full blown CMA later. And then just set expectations for how you'll work, the home and work with the sellers. And just, again, that's where those next move comes in. Always help them set their expectations for what's next. It just makes the process go so much smoother. All right. Yeah.
We talked about this a little bit yesterday with Nick. But how do you, so you've done the presentation and kind of at the end, how do you act?
You know what, I actually just say to them, do you have any further questions? Things like that, or I'll say, is there anything else about the process that you want to talk about? And they're usually like, no, you've really covered everything in detail. And then I just usually say, are you ready to, review the contract together? I'm trying to think, I don't think I worded contract because that's kind of a swear in our business. The paperwork, I guess, is what I say. Are you ready to review the paperwork together of you and I working together? And I mean, almost always they're like, yes, absolutely, let's go. And that's the other thing too, is you need to know how much time you have in the listing appointment. So you might want to do the listing paperwork ahead of time, fill out as much as you can so that you're just then going through it section by section with them and then having them sign. But otherwise, if they don't have enough time, again, you can send everything to them in a PDF and review it over the phone. I will tell you guys, the other thing that I can't stress enough about how critical it is to review the contracts with them. And it's not line by line, but it's section by section. Each section kind of talks about a different topic. We as agents have to know that contract inside and out, but we also have to do our due diligence and go through the contract with them section by section. So whether that is at the time of the listing presentation, if you have enough time, or again, like I said, we've been doing a lot, like, depending on who it is we're working with, they like us to send them a PDF. They get to review it on their own, and then we do it section by section on the phone before they e-sign it. So you just have to ask them, how would you prefer to go through it? But usually when you say to them, are you ready to review it? Yeah, absolutely, let's go, And the other thing too is if again, if you have a lot of it filled out ahead of time, it's not very time consuming then to just get their signature after you've gone through it. But we've had a couple of attorneys the last couple of years, and the one said to me, Colleen, and Anne-Marie, he said, I'm so impressed that you guys literally go through contracts, because he said, people don't do that anymore. You go to buy a car, they just skim through what you're doing. You hardly even know what you're signing. Sign here, sign here, sign here. And he just said, I really appreciate as an attorney that you guys do that. And he said, and I'm sure it, covers your butt too. So it's really important to do that. And again, that's another step that if you're willing to take the time to do that, they really don't question signing it. So, and then you leave the homework with them, their disclosures, and then that homework that I talked about. So, yeah. All right, so this next section, you guys, this is a spot. So this is 15.3 in your book. I want to give you guys this website. If you're willing to do this, they have a custom listing presentation in Command. And so the website for you guys to look at that, and I will send you ours and you can customize it. But the one that they have is, so the HTTPS, so it's answers.kw.com. It's really long, you guys, so I'll go slow. /HC/EN-US, I know it's still going, /articles /3600-394-14733. Sorry, you guys, I know. Then create listing presentation in designs. I should probably write that down, you guys. Do you want me to write it down? Or did you guys see? In designs. So listing presentation in designs. Isn't that obnoxious? Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
I was like, I technically wrote it. Right.
Is it in command?
What's that?
Is it in command?
No, it's at pw.com. So, hold on one second, I'll get there. I don't know, personally, really. Where's the? What did I say? Sorry, I should have done this beginning with you guys. There you go.
So anyway, but that, you know, again, this is another example. We have all the listing presentations, so I can send you mine and then you guys can mix and match and put what feels right to you, so. All right, so actually now we're supposed to break into some groups. So if you guys want to take some time, you know, looking through the listing presentation in command from that website that I just gave you, you can break into, you know, groups and look at it together. You can do it on your own, but then we'll come back in about, we can take a break too, if you guys want. Are you in need of a break? Okay, me too. So we'll come back, you know, maybe let's combine the break and, you guys looking at the website. So what do you think? 25 after? 10:30, what sounds good? 15, 20 minutes? Okay, well, let's say 15 minutes. How about that? And then we can, if you guys need more time, we can do more time.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You always.
And I'll have this stuff that I have you guys up here if you want to take a closer look at any of it.
Hey, we're gonna. I'm getting, we'll get going.
You give them a heads up.
Yeah, it's like, we're gonna move forward and get. Yeah, I should get this. We'll get it.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't even that you guys let that go.
They're ready, and that would be also what you do.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Thank you, Colleen.
Of course, honey. Oh, you're heading out?
Yeah.
Good. Good to see you. Good luck.
Yeah, if you could send email to us.
Be happy to.
Awesome.
So like this is what, you know, goes together at the listing presentation. This is the seller call guide, the pre-list, and then this is the listing presentation. Yep, happy to do it.
Yeah.
We make all our flyers in Canva.
Yes, you do it in Canva.
Yeah, the flyers. And well, actually, like all of this, we've done all of this in Canva. We use it for everything. I know, and so it's just,
I just started, I didn't know about this, so you create all of this and print them.
yep. Yep, yeah, we use Canva. So I know they're probably like, you gotta start using command and designs. I'm like,
I don't know. Drew, I think he's gonna be doing a Canva class, because I think that would be very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, what do you guys do? Do you guys for like designing brokers and stuff? You guys- Yeah.
It's like your little one. Great. And now we have to come out, no, I'm good.
it'll be finished everything in there.
Yeah.
It's, supposed to do the video editing.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you can add audio.
Holy cow.
That's awesome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm actually online and
Yeah.
I'm attending their class. Are you able to see the chat? We couldn't see the website that you put on the board. Are you able to email it to us as well? We're on the chat. There's a couple of us online.
Here, can you guys see it? Okay, you know what, I'll talk to Drew and I'll make sure he gets your information.
Okay, sounds good, because we have our information on the chat online. So if you could actually email it to us, that would be great.
Absolutely, no problem.
All right, thank you.
What?
If they go into their command.
Yep.
and Click the designs option.
Yep,
That should bring them to that place.
to create, then is that one of the options underneath it? In designs?
Yes.
Okay, so if you got, one of, is Denise?
Dawn.
Dawn, sorry. Dawn said that if you guys go into command and you go under designs, it sounds like you'd be able to go under listing presentation in there, but I'll make sure I still get the website to you no matter what.
Yeah, it's the third icon from the bottom. It's got a square and a paintbrush.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about designs, yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's
once
what
they-
that page brings you to.
Oh, there. All right,
Then create a design.
yep. All right, I'm gonna grab.
Literally, I almost. It's like.
If my kids would have been like. I might have just. Cause like like next week is like.
You know, that week when they're out of school.
We have it like, not next week, but in the following.
Like, so like,
Well, kind of nice, but when it's good.
And then Marjorie, hers was last.
Easy jumping.
Oh, geez. Yeah, more of those?
Most of the,
Hey,
I'm gonna ask.
Where
if
those
the meeting happens right there. She always call them all out.
Feel this contract is what you could and pay out all
I fill it out ahead of time. Mhm.
Okay, you get all the information.
I try to fill it as much as I can. So obviously you kind of want to leave the commission blank, until you have that conversation. Or fill it in if you want not have to change it. And then the price, is usually what we leave. And then kind of, I think the expiration date, but I mean, otherwise we fill pretty much everything in ahead of time.
Then, like a price that you had writing over there.
Yep. Yep, and that's fine. Yep.
And if you don't have that information, so imagine somebody refer you. They say come tomorrow. And this is what happened to me. So I was a neighbor, called me. I went over there, I didn't wasn't prepared because I was meeting him.
Mhm.
And then I figured out the neighbor, also I went over there. And then they said, let's do it this afternoon, so I couldn't get,
Oh, filled out, yeah,
so, but I took the contract with me, I
yep,
explained it to them.
yep.
And you have done it before, right?
Yeah, yeah, we always try to have that part filled out because, you want to go through it if you can, if they have time. And then, that way you save time by not having
So
to
you
write everything
send
in.
by them and review it.
Yep.
Do you send it to them to review it before? And then
You could, but we usually don't. I just bring paper copy and then we go through it. And then if they're like, well, we're not quite ready to sign, you might still then send a PDF to them. And
You don't leave it over there, but they said, yeah.
you can leave it, because then what we would do is then we would send it to them electronically for a signature, but at least leaving them a hard copy, they can review it, and look at it closer and ask any questions. So, yeah, but I would definitely try to have it filled out ahead of time if you can, just save so much time.
And most of your business coming from referral?
Yes, yeah, we have repeat referral, yep, and yep. The majority of ours is, the other thing I was gonna say too, I just lost my train of thought, it'll come to me, sorry.
That's why.
Um. I lost it, but it'll come back,
Thanks for sharing. those.
of course. And Scott, I think I mentioned this before you were here, so in these packets, we always bring all the different types of disclosures so that we're prepared, because even if it's a city home, they might have a cap, well, it's so full with all disclosure and medication, then you have a reason. And then if you didn't use it, use the next folder, so. I know I probably I do too much, probably store on paper because I'm a dinosaur, but,
Oh, that's,
but we
some
do,
people real,
yeah,
and the reality is, my sphere and age group is, they're a little more tactile too.
right,
I
yeah.
remember I tried doing one, I messed around with trying to have my iPad, and do, and it was just, people they just kind of gloss.
They do.
over,
Yeah,
so it's
Yeah.
just, well, even like when you're talking about the contract, I like your idea, you just summarize, just hit a little block.
Mhm.
Except for the engineers, they're all gonna just kind of follow your lead on it, but you're still
Well,
touching it.
yeah, but then, the engineers like it when we send the PDF and
Okay.
then they review
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
then
that's
we can
what they-
review it together, yeah. Yeah, because and they're the ones that should get the closing documents ahead of time too, because they want to look at all those, so that they
Right.
can hold your closing up. Which is all good,
I was, I was talking to Denise about, about asking them to sign the document. Travis, and he's so smooth at it, I couldn't do it like but he would always set that table right when he came in. Okay, we're gonna go over, kind of your value proposition,
Mhm.
but at the end, if we're mutual agreement, let's just plan on us moving forward, and I'll be working from you right from today,
Mhm.
people will be like, okay,
Mhm.
and then, so he said, he kind of let them know, right? We're gonna be, they
Yeah,
kind of,
the
okay,
goal.
we're gonna move forward.
Yep,
They, we're in a mutual agreement,
yep, you like what you hear.
let's have this starting from today.
Yep, yep, yeah, and even that listing preparation checklist, I don't know if you're here, like, I'll say, if you sign the contract with me, you get this today when I leave, I'm
Yeah.
getting this to you, and it helps you go room by room to prepare to get your house on the market. Oh, okay, we show it to them, it's 3 pages long, it's for detail, but we don't give it to them. It's exciting.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Mhm.
That's where, it's interesting, because you talk about systems. And easily, like when I look at my business so far, I'm good at asking questions, writing things out, but I haven't been systematic.
It's really important,
Right.
yeah. That's why I was teasing you and checklist for checklist. I don't know, just, it helps.
And got a checklist that, Travis says, well, Chris made a checklist, and like I said, he said he said the same thing to me, it started out small, and every problem added another.
Yep.
Another thing.
Yeah,
That's go through this transaction coordinator. So,
Yeah, because even Nikki, I've had Nikki review ours, so she's like, these are the things that I do, and then you can do these things. Which is fine, you know, that works out, so.
I talked to your, I don't know if it was Emery or you, but Julie, forget her name, register. If you guys are just getting your name registered. Who was it?
For what?
For your.
Oh,
TV.
the attorney.
Yeah,
Yes,
attorney.
the attorney, yes, and she helped us with our, yeah, trademark and her name and her logo and all of that stuff, yeah. Yeah, oh, what is, Lynch? Finch?
Yeah, Finch.
Finch,
Julie
yes.
Finch.
But that's been a
She's
while,
good.
yeah, she was good. Hey, and I didn't know that Andy Lockwood is your son-in-law,
That's my son.
crazy. Cause my kids went away here, so I was like, oh, yeah, there's Andy.
Oh,
They
okay.
came and all the basketball.
Sure,
and
sure.
Stuff like that, so.
That's funny. Yeah, he's, you know, stemming the family too. We're just all a bunch of, and my daughter claims she's 5 foot tall. She's lying, right? And then, so you know, to have him walking, it's good to have him. He can reach out.
Yes.
But,
Sweet.
yeah, he got got a new construction signed last night with his clients, so pretty exciting, you know, so it was, Ev and I home out of Farmington, so it's his first little contract sign, and it's interesting, you know, because it was new construction, he was showing them some homes, but then they wanted to do purchase new construction, so that was fun to walk through with him on that process.
Good.
And it's, you know, it's interesting, because the builder takes care of so much stuff, but
Yeah.
here's where you can add value.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and MI is a good one to work with right out of the gate, so that's good.
So he was pretty excited,
Good.
so got his first deal done, you know.
That's
In
awesome.
regards to that, because he just got his license, right?
He's had his license for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Wow.
How is this part of his sphere? Like, is it something he kind
That
of?
was,
knows
yeah,
through
that
somebody else?
was, he is a pediatric nurse.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, still does, so and he was at the Mayo at first, and now he's moved up here, so that's why sometimes he's not here. So-
Because it's not, he didn't have enough challenge. like,
Yeah.
a pediatric
Yeah.
nurse.
I know,
Well, here
right?
you have 3, you'll do like 3/16.
Right,
And then you'll have 6 days off, it's interesting. How that
right,
works.
but that's also like, I don't think a nurse is a cakewalk job. And even like pediatric.
Yeah.
There's so much patience, like,
Yeah, so.
but,
Yeah, so
That's
this was
amazing.
a colleague from Rochester that wanted to get something a little closer to cities, it's in Farmington.
Mhm.
So he had reached out to everybody, he's certainly not scared of the phone and not scared of the phone at all, which is
awesome.
huge. Right? And so he reached out to everybody, and he started reaching out before he even had his license to say, hey, I got this, I'm gonna be starting with this and. So it worked out. And that was just right from his.
So
people.
many of my spheres in state. Like I have so many in Arizona and in Georgia, and I have some here. But not as much as I have for us. However. A lot of Minnesota, like, go back and forth with Arizona, so
Yeah, they did.
maybe I might have to get a license in Arizona too.
There's a lot of- yeah, I'm considering a Florida license just because my sphere, they're starting to
Yeah.
do that, so.
All right, you guys, should we get started?
Oh,
So did you
sorry, I
guys?
didn't even look at them.
No, you're all good. Oh, let's do that. Even have a few more minutes.
Right, yeah, it's busy. Like, it's, yeah, it's like, in the Keller Williams style,
Yeah.
is what it looks like.
Does it look like they've got a bunch of good things though that you could use?
Yeah, it's got some templates, you gotta figure out how to alter them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
You guys need a little bit more time to look through the listing presentation?
Mhm.
Okay.
Busy yak and that's.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's got all of them though, not just
listing instead of fire diet.
Yep. Good.
Nice, I mean, like in the picture, I was looking at my United shirt. I mean, apparently you've never met. Is the United thing?
No, sorry.
You know what? I've never said that soccer was my thing, but the Minnesota United thing is so much fun.
Oh, they're amazing.
They are so much fun. And I'll tell you, did I kind of get into it because of Ted Lasso? Yeah, I did. Ted Lasso is such a good show.
Oh, it's
Oh,
the best.
Jason Sudeikis, yeah, and it is the most like feel good show that I've watched. Oh my. It made me feel happy. What was it called?
Ted
Ted
Lasso.
Lasso.
It's amazing.
It is so good.
Did you hear though that season 3 is not going to be feel good anymore?
No,
Mhm.
that's what made it so wonderful.
Well, they gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
Scott, do you mind if we move on? Is that okay?
I'm good.
No, okay. So I'm gonna have you guys help me read this page, because this is where like this is you asking questions to the seller. So this is a really important part. So if you guys want to turn to, oh, shoot, I don't know. Oh, you can't even read it in the book. Never mind. Can you guys read that okay?
I can.
Okay. So if you guys want to maybe just help me take turns, each one of you read. This is one of the slides that they recommend putting in your listing presentation. So you want to start, Scott?
That's the old guy. So am I reading the small print there?
Yeah, is that, can you see
We're not even
it?
gonna be able
All
to
right,
see all
I'll
of
go.
it. The bar on the bottom is covering up.
Well, it just says, okay, so the first one, it says, what's the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality?
Yeah, because they're just saying visualize your dream scenario for selling your home. So that question is, what's the one thing that has to happen to make that dream a reality? It's the next one. It's not in your book, unfortunately. So it's a slide.
If we could add just one more thing to make this process even better, what would it be? Why is that important to you? And then how can I make it happen? And then why is that important?
So basically, I'm just gonna kind of, for the people that are online, I'm just gonna reiterate those. So they want the seller to, ask them to visualize your dream scenario for selling your home. What is the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality? How can I, as your agent, make that happen for you? Why is this important to you? If we could add just one more thing to the process other than what we've already discussed to make it better, what would that be for you? And then why is that important? That one thing important to you? So they're basically saying that, depending on what the seller says, as far as their answers, if you are able throughout the process to answer or to meet their needs that they're looking for, you are going to earn and keep their business. They're going to recommend friends and family to you. And then it obviously allows you the opportunity to adapt your selling process with them so that you're meeting all of their needs. So they just said how important this particular document should be, definitely in your listing presentation. I do not have it, so I'm probably going to figure out some version of it to put it into mine. So the next one, I don't think is a slide. Oh, it is. You guys have seen this, right? Because it's been through other Ignite classes.
Yeah.
So again, let's say this together too. I'm knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they sell their home. So honestly, the key things in there, you guys, are our expertise and our preparation. That's why people hire us.
And I also add seller and buyer. Seller sell their house and buyer.
Yep. Yep. Well, because you guys saw the same slide for the buyer side, so it applies whether they're a buyer or a seller.
Yeah.
But we just, and you have to go into it being absolutely confident that you are the best person to help them, that your expertise is going to get their house sold, and that by your preparation that you do, even all of those MLS supplements that we were talking about, all the preparing that you do when you're doing a coming soon before it goes active, all of that is going to help them sell their house quicker for more money and less stress. All right, so let's see. The next one I don't think is in your book either. This one, so they're just saying, you know, that how important your listing presentation is, that it shows off your hard work and your research, and it will help you get the listing. So in addition to going through the listing presentation, the other thing that's super important is that we preview the home with them and that we ask them for the listing to sign it at the end of the meeting. And then don't forget to update and command your the opportunity each stage. So once you're cultivating the lead, when you do the appointment, and then once it's an active lead. So. All right, let me see if there's. I don't know if this one is just on, so we're at 15.4, just in case you guys are following along. So we had talked about, I don't know if we talked about this on break or if we talked about it prior to that, but you know, when you go to the listing presentation, of course, it's always best to greet them, to ask them if you can put your things on the kitchen table. Try not to meet them like in the living room. You want to be where you have a table, you can spread your things out, you can show them. And of course, as you know, the kitchen is the heart of every home. So if they invite you into the kitchen, you know, that's always a good thing. And then again, like we did talk about this earlier, is just to try to do the walkthrough by yourself first so that you can really kind of visualize what you want to recommend to them if you want to give them a few tips. And then I think I told Scott during the break, just make sure you don't ever give them that listing preparation checklist that I talked about. We have a 3-page one until they sign the listing contract. Otherwise, you're kind of giving away everything, you know, and they could always go to somebody else. So. And then the next biggest thing is once you've done the listing presentation is handwritten notes are just so powerful too, because everybody gets so many text messages and emails that, you know, and bills in the mail. So, you know, I think you're standing at the garbage can. I don't know about you guys, but I'm at the garbage can after going to the mailbox and everything goes in the trash. And then I see a handwritten card or a letter. I'm like, oh, you know, so it just, they're invaluable. So try to always remember to do that, you know, thank them for the appointment, tell them how nice it was, compliment their house, you know, and then you'll stand out.
So how soon after do you do that?
They say immediately. So like I'd go straight, you know, home or the next day for sure and make sure you drop something in the mail to them immediately. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Mainly because I have one on Monday. I have a client they've decided they don't want to have stairs anymore. So
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gonna be downsizing. So they want me to come over Monday. Just say, hey, just Scott, I need you to walk through the house and what we need to get ready before we have you put it up.
Mhm.
I know the usual suspects, you know, fix what needs fixing and clutter and all that. Is there any other things out of those usual things that you're looking for? Or is there?
Well, so you kind of have to gauge how much the seller is willing to invest money wise in the property. And usually they'll tell you, you know, we really want to do as much as we can to maximize the price that we get, or we want to do as little as humanly possible and not spend as much money out of pocket. So what would be, so you kind of have to cater depending on what they're willing and not willing to do. You know, we don't ever have people spend an exorbitant amount of money to get the house in the market. I'm not going to tell them to redo their kitchen or their bathroom. You know, the 3 things that they can get their biggest bang for their buck for is new flooring, new light fixtures, and paint. Those are the 3 top things. And yes, those are all expensive. So you just have to gauge, you know, is it really, really bad, or can they clean the carpet, you know, or is it really, really bad that it absolutely will be worth it for them to, you know, to replace their carpet. The other thing that we've also built up over the years is an amazing vendor list. So like if I give my carpet guy out, he will be out there within a week and be able to carpet their whole house. Like we give him so much business that he pretty much, I mean, he doesn't drop everything, but he makes sure he can get them in. But light fixtures, I mean, they can go to Home Depot, they can go to Menards, they don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. I mean, you can get, flush mounted light fixtures for hallways, 2-pack for $20. You have to learn, try to go, to those places and figure out what can they, spend economically to really get a big bang for their buck. So, and the three things are the flooring, the paint, and the light fixtures. But decluttering is massive. So the way we word it, we don't call it decluttering because, that can be kind of offensive to
Right.
people. We say pre-pack. So, you're going to pack to move anyway, so you might as well start doing it now. And that's where you pare things down. We tell them the importance of every room should have one use only, and it should try to be what the room is. So if a dining room isn't a dining room, we got to try to figure out how to make it a dining room. Or if a bedroom's being used as a home office and a bedroom, let's pick one or the other, try to do one use.
How about basement space if they have some workout equipment that's kind of behind the couches?
Yeah, if there's a way that, again, you can, if the room is super long, maybe do the living room furniture on one end and the workout equipment on another end. You kind of have to get creative with the spaces sometimes. And I'm gonna have to tell you, I don't know about you guys, but living rooms are the ones that always trip me up because they're usually the weirdest shape. And you want to make it conversational. If there's a fireplace, you want the fireplace to be the focal point when they walk in the room. You have to also imagine when you're walking through the house and helping them stage it or figure out how to lay furniture out is what angles is the photographer going to take the picture? And you want to make sure you're not seeing the back of a couch or the back of a chair. You want the room to be inviting, when there's fireplaces, people always put furniture to the very, outer walls, but you want to bring them in and set them up right in front of the fireplace to do a conversational area. You'll get creative or, follow a stager for a while, or,
I've never done
do a couple of staging appointments with the stager. They have great information. It's like doing buyer inspections. Go on those as much as you humanly can in the beginning, because you will learn so much about houses by doing, home buyer inspections. And same thing with staging for sellers. You learn a lot by listening to what they suggest, watching what they do. And like I had mentioned earlier, Anne Marie and I go 2 hours before our photographer shows up and we make sure everything's perfect. Beds are made perfectly, pillows are fluffed, towels are folded a certain way, lights are on, stuff on the floor is put away. We go literally room by room, and we've decided now, we've done various times, we've decided 2 hours is what we need. And we tell the seller, we're going to need this window because we're making your house perfect. You have one chance to make a first impression.
Yeah,
So,
payment probably would be above and beyond, but I had my first listing.
mhm.
I didn't realize that the photographers won't move anything.
Oh, yeah.
So the front pictures all had the garbage can and the recycle were both down.
Yeah.
So I had to go back. I went back and actually took my phone
Yep.
pictures. And I couldn't use the ones, they didn't, I called them up. I said, well, couldn't you have moved those out of the way? They said, well, we don't move anything.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. That's why we go 2 hours
Right.
before. We want to check everything. Karen and I one time cleaned up an entire backyard after a graduation party, you guys, because our photos were there. We're like, or, you have to sometimes, you're going to run into the unexpected, but you're spending hundreds of dollars and that's the first impression that people have of that property online. So again, it's all about preparation, right? And, making it look the best that it can. So, and then Payman, you remember, we're like, we tell our photographer, do not turn ceiling fans on, do not open the shower curtain, the products are in there, or we have stuff hidden in there. So don't open the shower curtain, you know what I mean? So we actually have a list for our photographer every time, please make sure you shoot this, please make sure you don't do this or whatever.
Don't
And
take a picture of garbage cans.
yeah, well, but they're moved by the time they get there.
Yeah.
So,
One time I was very, this one, and it was a huge branch in the backyard and in front of the entrance. So I was very close to move my camera, but I was trying to move that and the camera was one of the branches here. And one of
Oh.
us good views was on snow.
Oh my goodness.
So I always ask, can I move it?
Yeah.
Assistant.
Yeah, so, and then, coming back to even prior to when the pictures are ready, that listing presentation checklist that I'm happy to share with you guys. That helps the seller go room by room to say, are there heavy curtains? Remove the curtains, things like that, or, take personal photos down, declutter, and then it's coming from the list, not from you. So you're not the bad guy. And same thing with the stager, like, we usually do all of our own staging consultations and then our pre-prep for the photos. But if it's a bad house and it's someone close to us and we don't want to offend them, we call in a stager and she tells them all the bad stuff because we don't want to be the bad guy,
That's a great
So
idea.
sometimes it's worthwhile to spend a couple $100 to have someone else tell them that their baby is ugly, like just. Yeah, that's one of Anne Marie. She has these awesome analogies. Or just learning that, flips, there's some flips where they're trying to put lipstick on a pig and they don't do a good job, just things like that.
To that point as well, is basically neutralizing the house.
Mhm.
Taking down some of those family photos, religious paraphernalia,
Yep.
that's a really touchy subject with a lot of people,
Yep.
but. I mean, there's a lot of people that wouldn't be comfortable if they walk in and that is like the big centerpiece and they're like.
Yep.
I'm good, let's go see the other ones.
Yep, and our list tells that too. It brings up the, to try to remove, some of those personal things that could potentially offend people, we worded a different way, but.
Yeah.
So it's important. And again, it's all about preparation. So you got to help the seller prepare too, because they don't do this every day. They don't know what they need to do. And we can visualize the house from a buyer's point of view or a photographer's point of view. We want to make it beautiful. So any other questions? We kind of got off track, but I love it. It's good. Yes, it's good. Yes. All right, so we've kind of talked through all that. Talked about making sure we review contracts, how important that is. Well, I think we've kind of covered everything, you guys. It's crazy. I've never taught this class, and of course they've revised it here, but they now want you guys to spend 2 hours doing your pre-listing packet, your listing presentation, and practicing your listing presentation to your seller. So I'm like, it's already 10 to 11. So are you guys, what can I do to help you, or what can I do to make this beneficial for you guys? I mean, we technically still have another, hour and 10 minutes that if you, for those of you that want to stay and have questions and want to work on this, so that, because I know sometimes the minute you leave, you're not going to ever come back to it. So it's important that, if there's things you guys still want to cover or you want to talk about it, we get it done.
I actually feel like I am more energized after the class to want to do the things like it's so fresh and available for
Mhm.
You know, all ran for the
Well, I'm happy to stick around for the next hour. So if you guys want to stay in here,
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go through it.
To look at your stuff.
absolutely. Yep. And for those of you online, if you want any of the examples that I've been talking about today, again, just put it in the chat and then I'll make sure that Drew gets it out to you guys. So. Anything else? Stephanie, is there anything else I should cover that you think I didn't cover that would be helpful?
No, I think it's pretty much do the, you're capable to do the exact same thing.
As far as what, the steps?
Yeah, steps of everything.
Mhm.
If you do want to, in your command, the way that you can have your clients follow along in your flow chart, if you move them in.
Oh,
So
that's
you can have
awesome.
that go on.
So,
So if you have a client that's, let's say, new, they can look on their KWM and where they are. And when you move them over, they automatically get the next.
awesome. That's great.
It's very. It is, and our team has not had that, just had that. But
Okay, interesting.
because we have it like this, we have like the candy zone. So we
Yes.
just send out the emails and stuff, so.
Yep, and that's what we do with our next move. They're the canned emails and sometimes they have attachments, but it'd be nice to incorporate it so they can
Yeah,
follow
if
along
you
on an
start
app.
The new one, you haven't done, you can't email.
You might as well
Do the
start,
command one, yeah.
yeah, start fresh. But again, like you said, Scott, you know, there's some generations where they don't want an app. Like, I don't like a zillion apps on my phone. I'm like, do I have to use the app? Can I just, you know?
Well, and then you're also limited with how many things that you can put on and like, oh, am I only gonna use this for, I don't like. it.
I know. So that's why I feel like still maybe that, you know, because we have the canned emails already, we might as well just, you know, use that until we maybe get into command and do it that way.
My husband has been talking to me. I haven't set it up yet. It's basically something where you can tap your phone to somebody else's and it automatically sends your information to them. They would still have to like put their like email and things like that, but then it gets all their stuff and you could lead them to your business page or wherever you want to, you could create a bio and things like that. He was showing me all the cool things that he does, or he utilizes it, because instead of maybe you don't always have a business card. Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, and where you can just use the, yeah.
Yes.
So you can have that, or you can even use your phone. And then-
Doug, look at you on the edge of technology. Woohoo. That's awesome.
So
Really?
So my husband, yeah, because he has it on his phone, he's like, or you can have this little card. And I was like, what? Because you can also like personalize the card
Mm,
itself to make it like appear different. And so, and you can lead them to wherever, like it will have all your contact information, you could take them to your website or anything like that, and it's just a way that automatically, and it will also capture their information. Yeah, see.
So do you want to hear a funny
Hey, but
thing?
do not share the information.
We didn't have those when I first started, so we would put our business cards on magnets. And then they put that on the fridge. That's how they had our contact
You
information.
know what, though? I do like it because for me, I'm very visual. So if I'm constantly saying, and I'm like, oh, I need to get whatever done, like I'll be like, oh, it's right here. Like I'll just use this person, like a handy dancer or anything like that.
Mhm,
I utilize that.
mhm. Yeah. So what do you guys think? It's 5 to 11 right now, so we have like an hour and 5 minutes. Do you want me just to stick around so that in case you guys want to start some of these things, you can answer, you know, ask questions or anything, or you're free to go, whatever you want to do. It's up to you.
I know I usually would stay in here. A lot of people that do this.
Okay.
Thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to do this. I'm a little rusty, but thank you.
Just trying to stay awake.
Yeah, no worries.
So you know the Lockwood family, right?
Well, so, my kid put us to like there, and so we've gone and asked about. I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. Right.
What did they interesting? Yeah.
That's what you did.
So just, know them.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep, and then, oh, the other thing too is, oh my gosh, I'm calling drawing a blank right now. Then, everybody, we never showed it. Alex was on man, he was, my son now. Right. He played out for 5 years. Oh, okay. Yep. Fun.
Small world.
It is.
Yeah, because he came in, you know, I got thrown off because I was like, you look just like your dad. And I'm like, look at me, because she was thinking, well, I actually think this is my son. Alike, and then she goes, no, I know his dad.
Yeah, because he's from Winona, isn't he?
Yeah.
This is really cheap.
But he was high school. All right.
Sign the same here. But you're like.
No.
I get for
So it's one of those where like, can it be a good return? Yes.
Yes.
Is it all?
Like your
Thank you. I know, I'm sure he'll see you around fairly soon. He's always done starting. He's getting his license right now.
Oh, fantastic.
He graduates in June.
Fantastic.
Excited.
Family business.
Yes, I'd like to eventually.
That's smart. Legacy.
Now that he said that out loud. I just need to send him to our.
It's free.
I mean, to be fair, most of it is my husband, because my husband is their current sole provider.
So then the extra that you.
That's me. Well, and I think that. Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah, I think just that.
I maybe needed like 1,000. Thing here, so it's not. If you're gonna tax me, yeah, and I don't. It's not even 2,000.
Usually they're just.
That's the thing, so what do you tax me?
Yeah.
Covered.
Play with them. My daughter. she went to Brand-
For sure, no, I.
So they were alone, but they were all wrapped up. It is, and then I go, God, I do. Bill, but. Can I hit
Yes, exactly.
for the day tomorrow?
Yes, it's, I am working on making all of this.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's like more from next. It's done, so.
Well.
Yeah.
And it's.
Yeah. And I just want to get. Instead of my solo paper. Yeah, Marjorie was writing an offer today.
She's been so busy.
I know. Crazy. She's rocking it.
Yeah.
Coming for my title.
Your title?
I'm in first place right now with Michelle, but she wants to be.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
But, yeah, the March Madness,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, so these early mornings are nice.
So Dawn, are you Colleen's sister?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's awesome. The office yesterday.
Was he?
what? She was here? I didn't even see her.
I know. Well, we had to go right away and go up to Otsego and did the lockbox off our house. And then. So we came back. Yeah. Scott saw her, so she is real.
I don't believe it.
I gotta say hi. Just kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a very good session. I'm sorry I was late. I'm just, yeah. So they're recording them, right? So I can
Yes.
get back and watch.
Yep.
them.
Yep.
That'll be nice.
And I've been trying to watch all the recordings. Like the bummer thing is when you guys have great things to say, you can't hear. Oh, so then, you know, the teacher will, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, what did they say? Oh, well, right.
Well, nice to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
It's good to be back.
Good.
It's a little overwhelming, you know, I'm trying to get a move your database over. I'm clunking through command like a.
I have
I feel like I'm typing with one finger. You know, but you know, once that heavy lifting is done, then I should sit.
Yeah. So were you with Travis?
It was good.
There's no at EXP.
You're still at EXP, I tell you what, I love it.
He is, he's
Amazing,
yeah.
but when Andy wanted to get involved. I love Travis, Travis and his team. You know, you make this call, I made this call, yeah, we talked about walk through the EXP world, and I'm just like. Not me, you know,
Yeah.
and it's so when we're like here. Even like with that new construction, cause I get a kick out of Kevin, I told Andy everything I knew, but I said, let's stick to Kevin there too, you know, and so. He had some things that I wasn't even thinking, well, that's a great idea, you know, like,
Yeah.
so just to have
Oh, today, for
that.
the,
people
for the-
all in different
things we.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know, I'm
Sorry, hold on.
I need to. Like, to, realty group, for anybody who lives there, but then, you know, the more I thought about it, I was like, man, I just can't leave all the training.
It's
people,
huge.
Camaraderie and, you know, just like Michelle being a productivity coach, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't want to be my son's productivity coach. Like,
Okay, yeah, I've been coaching Andy so far. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
You know,
I get it,
yeah.
I get it.
And then too, you know, so many people can learn from, and it was crazy, so he told me. Not this November, but the November before, that he wanted to do the state, and I had no clue. I was like, serious? He's like, yeah, I don't know. And then he's like, I just wanted to be able to help athletes moving in and out of the Twin Cities and whatever, I'm like, well, we'll figure out a way to do that, you know? And, well, then that was Friday, Monday was when they were on sports.
Yeah, sports, yeah.
And I was like, honey, and that is the sign so the state goes to our states.
Now your son's name is? How old is he?
So he's a senior.
Okay,
Whatever.
So he.
No, I've got the right
Okay.
address. I don't care.
I met a young man here, that was here yesterday, that I think is just. Oh,
Omar,
Yeah.
yeah, he's awesome too.
Talk to me, you know, and it's like, it's kind of fun to see these
Yes,
young kids that are, oh, why not?
you know, I think they should all like try to, you know, do a mastermind group for you. We go.
Yeah, the young professionals. Yeah.
They pretty hit the hard.
Yeah, like, especially our athletes, you know, people that like, it's Andy's.
Things in there.
He still does
There's
all
so
sorts
much
of
more.
sports.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, very.
So-
Well, Michelle, and so she's a productivity coach here, you know, Michelle,
Yeah, I met Michelle.
so she helps.
So we do it-
Hockey players, her son and daughter helps, baseball players, and Matthew's like, I'll do football and basketball. You know,
Right.
Andy too, so, yeah. pretty cool.
No wonder.
It's math.
Yeah.
To go by math or is it always been
It's
math?
always Matthew.
Interesting.
Couple people on there, but
Okay.
he's always done that. My brother was Matthew and he got him by math, so I thought.
Right.
It's stuck, so. Anyway, well, good to see
Oh,
you.
good to see you too. Thank
Yes,
you
you're
very
welcome.
much. And I appreciate you sharing your materials. You know, I'll go through that. I'll have to. Like Travis, you know, they had their own, thing, but everybody's got their own style. I have to figure out how to make the pages less without. I don't know. It's just, you know,
I've seen that and I'm like,
lean as mean as I can get away with is what's gonna have to be. I did a lot of appointments, with just,
Alyssa, we were friends.
sometimes I'd have our.
What?
That, and I would be there and I would just, cause that's how my whole sales career before, just a legal pad.
Yeah.
That's how so that's my, you talk about entrepreneur to,
Yeah,
so I'm used to the legal pad world of, you know, that's how I operate.
yeah, it's hard to get out. of that.
Yeah, because where your comfort zone. is.
I know, I know.
So, thank you.
You're very
much.
welcome, yep, very welcome.
Did you fix it? Huh? Did you fix it?
Big one.
That we weren't friends?
Oh, of course I did, immediately.
That entire, exhausted a little bit better. That's actually part of the reason. That's the thing he wants.
Well, I think that he probably didn't understand like, the urgency.
I don't know how much more clear I can make it, honestly. Without calling him and telling him to sign their paper. And putting exclamation there.
You say that, but there are some times where I can literally have a conversation with my husband. Point blank about something and he's still. Even though like, sometimes I shouldn't make him repeat back to me what I just said, so I know he's comprehended what I just. Like you popcorn at school, like, right? You popcorn out with people.
Here's an example. I told him. Nothing gets scheduled until we find out something's. And he goes, okay, so with, what time is the inspection? Like, you have to schedule that. And we get scheduled until like the contract. Like, okay. Like a few hours later, so what's the inspection on today? You have to schedule that. Oh my gosh. I love him. He's a dear friend of mine for many years.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to
Oh,
kick
boy.
their butt a little bit. As I was saying. Okay.
I sent a number, we have a number on them. Okay. One big bell. Downtime, whatever. He did some school. It's really weird, so. He decided to stay at 3 hours at the school.
Oh, I heard that on the call this morning.
Cause he was an hour from work. Right now. And decided that he was just gonna, wait till he got home, decided on his computer, because it's his computer, when he goes to his phone, and we're like, I was gonna go and do gas.
We had all kinds of stuff, I've been working on the life presentation and updating that.
That's it, so many to do, 4 clicks, that's it, do it.
On all of those.
Like this.
No.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. But dealing with it. I'm waiting for you to drive from St. Paul to North Bridge. No, get it done. so I can send it over.
It is, and I'm so extremely busy.
Finally, what you on it, I told him, you had your service. And then he buys.
Thank you.
It was a great class.
So, I'm just saying, look at it on the train on it back, our guys is friends. Good, should I? Yes, I'm Colleen, yes, nice to meet you. I feel like it goes to next. Great. Yeah, all the examples. Great, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Very good.
I can think that.
That's pretty much what that is.
Oh, gosh, I'm sure.
It's not. That's just straight.
Well, no.
Did you try and me the ABM, the RPR, the below, and then the input part? And I try to walk through that together.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I only have it once. Yeah. Yeah.
When I would look at.
So that's kind of what I'm first time last year, because it's not as easy as that.
Well, there are things like it's within 8 years and can be broken nose. Let's do this, but. Yeah. So I think I would. No. Some of the not. Probably it's business with the RP. Okay. It's her, she's like, so that's the votes in paper. This is how we do all of our requirements.
Yeah.
So like right now, it's not like. Well. That is just so. No. So then I really saw here. Stuff and this is all they kind of to. They're not living. Well, this is more than what. Yeah, but. I mean. But I mean, it's, they are also sorry, it's actually really nice to sell, it's for us significantly, but it is for everyone. It's. You know, there's lots of, there's lots of work to it, and that is like, it was wonderful. That is your. Yeah. The updated, that's. For filming, for credit. And there's something here. Well, and. So they did have more. So like the outside. So I did that. Before I was going. Yeah. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. And then. So I first time soul. So can I? So long as her first. So located on it, but it's not. Yeah, because you have. So it's not like. It's on the same floor, main floor. Yeah, master bedrooms also. Just. And then you have your two. Yeah, so it's on the main. So would you say tranquil on the backyard? Located in the tranquil backyard. But essentially you can't really do that. You shouldn't have to. No, you can't do that because it's on that. So there's another short one. You can landscape, but push it out, and then you walk down. So master bedroom is on me, which is like. I Station. You don't know when you're in these going. Yeah, if we took it to Christmas here, you're fine. Get on that. For the sake of it coming. There, yeah, so like. And then. All right, so we'll have this, so let's have a case here. There's not. There's things that.
I think I mentioned she's not here. Actually, we did the list, right? So I found out. There you go. I mean. Here. They had updated them. So I don't think we could get it. So. I mean, it is, it is not. I would see that's what the other planning. They. Certain here has to, we have people say it. Say or recent location. So this is just the range where we get it customary. And then we have all of the started with. Some things where you receive it from the both cases. And then they found it. There's a lot of. Oh, I like it. I've met up in space. Yeah, so you all kind of do this one.
Hello, Cindy.
So then now we're gonna go.
Charlie, thanks for me calling. How's your day going?
Yeah, thanks for the.
Pretty good. How's the first day of market?
No. Oh my God, so now we get to within 30. Hi, John, nice to meet you. Hi, it was nice meeting you for a while.
That's awesome. It's a really good property. Set up very well for investments. So I think that's awesome.
And then you know how many.
Well,
Yeah, well,
I want to make sure that I respect your time. So I'm sure you're probably really busy today as well, but do you know by chance what those two rents are right now for those units?
And they. Okay, so then that's. Okay, and the other one, then I will give you that. All things are going to the next year. It's required.
Okay, and then with that, since they are both month to month, is that kind of with the new purchase, is there one of them that would be looking at potentially being able to out if they want to do an occupied situation?
Oh, yeah, this fish, yeah. So this one's priced a little bit more. But it has a nice. This one has one.
Right, and then with that, and it doesn't actually say on the listing itself, is it the 4 bedroom that's upstairs or downstairs? Upstairs, okay.
And then they. This is gonna be here. Right? Yes.
Sure, okay.
Nice. See, this one is. So they have,
Oh, and that one's, so that upper unit was better than the little. And then, if one of them wanted to stay. Past closing, would they be open to that as well, or would it be would they both move out and all stay?
yeah, so. Even your. 435. And this one, so this one also has an additional bathroom, but there's 2 bathrooms. So. I don't know.
So, and then,
Kind of like they did.
It says hot water heat, but I didn't see any like baseboards or radiance, so is that like inboard heat? Like radiance?
The interior is. It's about three.
Okay,
So I would even take this one and maybe. And then show you.
yeah, well, that's why I was confused, because I was like, the remarks say brand new furnace, but the heat for the structure information says hot water, like, I'm just gonna ask.
Yeah.
You
You would do it for
And I mean, yeah, this is just making it on Stadium, but.
No worries. It's a checkbox, that one's, it's easy to miss, so no worries on that. Okay, and then, my client's one of those that likes to go to Google and kind of look at the street view. And in the photos, it only showed one AC unit, but on the street view, it showed two. Are there still two, AC units? What about you showing that?
Even if you're not interested in me, if you.
I was thinking.
I mean, like the edge of the building where that one photo is, kind of. Oh, I see it now, from a different angle, yeah, there's two, okay, cool.
No, it's.
The one closer up photo kind of was cut off, so it only showed one of yours, so. Okay, perfect. I think that's all the questions I have for you for right now, and then I will let you know how the showing goes tomorrow, we're gonna be 12 to 1. Showing, and then, that does allow us to see the entire property.
Yeah. So we see, yeah, I think are gonna be a board. Even that we were at the president city price. That's this why then you have. Wow.
No, it's for.
This one.
I want to.
So that, oh, everybody.
Oh, yeah, now we want to put extra stress on her anyway, so. Yeah, totally, just so that I can prepare my buyers for, hey, you know, these are some of the people that might still be there when we're there, so that you guys are prepared.
One month.
I don't have.
You know that. It's not.
Yeah.
Like original. Okay.
Cancel.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, I'll let you know if I have any other questions, and I'll send over some feedback after the showing and tomorrow.
This is. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I just wanted.
I mean, and that's one is, you know, those others who it's looking. So this, all the circulation. But I mean, this, even on this form, you see, is this even for a little bit better. So they probably came in, the department's gonna adjust it. The buyer will get that. That's why we can pay. But again, so there's no way they're not. And you know, it's just. Look, it's not expensive, I see, we also have to do this. I can't. No, yeah.
Say I try, this is what they. Like, store, you think that you get one 1999.
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah, I mean, and then you have almost like, and that was told at pretty high. Always have on. Yeah. I think, well, it is fun for me, but I think it depends on how you do it. If the salary is. You just don't want to. Because when you have. Like if you put in an offer. That's nice. Yeah. Sunday every day.
So.
So the offer really is. Yeah, I think, yeah, so it's essentially what they're doing is they're letting